Hi guys, today is the 15th of January at 8:17 in the morning over here in the UK, and looking out for January the 20th, 21st during the blood moon, wolf moon eclipse for potential events happening. Now, in relation to the iPad Go-To video, I think there are a couple of scenes that may indicate that time period, the blood moon. Obviously, this one is one of the most obvious ones where we have a blood moon in the background. As I said before, this could be a deception of the sun in terms of like coronal holes rather than moon craters, but considering we have a blood moon coming up on the 21st, might as well address it. So on the 20th to the 21st, the blood moon occurs, and that's going to be happening UTC time, starting at 2:36 in the morning, which would be 10:36 on the 20th of January on the east coast of the United States, and it ends at 7:48 UTC time, which will be 2:48 East Coast time. So this scene again seems to be talking about this blood moon, at least a blood moon, but looking at this one coming up because it's the last one within the year of the dog. So blood moon coming up, we've got an L on the ground, we've got a C here, so that could be referencing lunar calendar. Not only that, but the L is also the 12th letter of the alphabet, so that could be saying lunar 12th. If we look at the lunar calendar, we are in the lunar 12th month. It goes until February the 5th, so we may be in that time period. The C here, as I said, goes down for calendar. It's also in the shape of a crescent moon, so if we're talking about lunar calendar, that's a double reference. And also it's a tsunami wave, so if we're talking about blood moon and tsunamis, then they do go together. Full moons, eclipses are known to mess with the waves, cause high tides, and could cause a tsunami. On the tsunami, we have a conflagration of numbers, but one of the earlier numbers that we've interpreted down here is the number 15 with the X and the 5 tally marks. And if that's saying lunar calendar 15, then if you look at the sorry, I got this email popping up on my screen just there. If you look at the lunar calendar, the lunar 15 is the 20th of January, and that's the day that Donald Trump became inaugurated, but obviously it's also the same day as the blood moon eclipse. At least it will be starting in the evening. As mentioned before, when the shutdown was, I think 1 week in, I said if the shutdown goes to 29 days, which would be the 21st of January, then, well, 20th, 21st of January, then the countdown clock would read 29 and whatever hours, minutes, and seconds. But the 29 could be a reference to either 9/11 backwards, if you take the 2 and separate into 2 ones, or if something occurs around 11 o'clock on the 29th day of the shutdown, then that would be 2/9/11, which would interpret as a second 9/11. That would put the timing around 11 o'clock on the 20th of January, and considering the eclipse is going to be starting at 10:30 on the 20th of January, it puts you into that time scale. You're half an hour early in terms of the blood moon, but when it gets to 11 o'clock on the government shutdown, that would be second 9/11 in terms of the countdown. So something may occur around that time. Maybe that's when the volcano erupts. We may have some indications to that with the marks of 11 that we see there. That could be the time the volcano erupts. I'm not sure, just putting that out there. Now, that's telling us possibly, a whole scene of lunar calendar, lunar 15. The apple is a reference to the Big Apple, New York, but also a reference to the blood moon. Again, if we're talking about the blood moon and tsunamis and volcanoes erupting, then recently confirmed by the USGS, blood moons and eclipses or full moons do have the ability to cause volcanoes to erupt. And obviously we've seen the situation with Anak Krakatau for Indonesia. Volcano erupted, collapsed, tsunami generated, arrived as a surprise, no one knew about it. Excuse me, because these things, tsunamis, are usually generated by earthquakes, which are picked up by seismometers, and then obviously a whole chain of events happens where we then get the warnings of a potential tsunami coming, or if tsunami waves have been spotted. However, volcanic eruptions are slightly different. they do cause seismic activity, but it's very different in terms of the readings in association with earthquakes. So they may not have a way of actually getting an early warning to us, or they may not want to get an early warning to us. Just depends. In my last video, or the video before last, in the video description, I wrote something about the USGS after they confirmed that. No, sorry, not USGS, NASA. I wrote about saying if there was an asteroid on the way, would they tell us? And I put a question mark there. And then the next day, a report came out saying from NASA saying if there was an asteroid on the way, we would tell you. So I obviously don't think that's a direct response to my question, but it's certainly a response to a question that a lot of us have. And whether it's true, again, you just kind of, even if they're telling you something, will you believe it? It just gets into that whole cycle of disbelief and truth. Putting all that to the side, if this is talking about, a volcano on an island, which the apple represents, erupting and then causing a tsunami on a lunar 15, then that will be January the 20th, moving into January the 21st, where we have such an event occurring. Then we have, obviously, as I mentioned before, the shoe next to the apple, which represents an island, and on that island is a volcano. If you're thinking about that geographically, that could be Mount Etna, which is a volcano on an island next to a country shaped like a shoe, Italy. The other way of looking at it is looking at it as Kilauea. Obviously, Kilauea was erupting from the 3rd of May 2018 and ended its eruption later in the same year. However, it's still active, so it could erupt again, especially if affected by a blood moon eclipse going on. The interpretation for that comes from when the apple splits open. We have, obviously, the volcanoes on the outside, but on the inside we have a reference to 21, as in the 2 seeds and the 1 seed, and the number 8 made from the roots and the shadow of the roots. That could be telling us 21-8 in terms of the date Hawaii received statehood on August the 21st, 1959. And obviously we have Obama in this scene, and Obama is from Hawaii. So all of that is why we've made these connections to these 2 volcanoes, Mount Etna, Kilauea, erupting during the blood moon, causing a tsunami, which affects the Mediterranean and also affects the Pacific. Now, around that same time, it looks as if it's at the same time as these other 2 volcanoes are erupting. We have a reference to a missile or submarine of some kind, and I believe that would be the Poseidon drone or missile. Recently, skipping to the end of the report here, but recently we've heard about the Poseidon drone and how that's being developed, but Russia is planning to deploy 30 underwater nuclear-capable drones that are capable, according to Moscow, of devastating US coastal targets in the event of an attack. And we don't know when they're going to deploy these 30 submarines. They could have deployed them already. Obviously, they're not going to announce when they're deploying them. If they've said that they're going to deploy them, it's likely that they're on the cusp of or have already deployed them. So something to be aware of and cautious of. But if that is all occurring on the same day, then that would also indicate a tsunami in the Atlantic, which would affect the East Coast, where New York is, the Big Apple, and the UK, which is represented by the pound coin down here. Although we do have a reference to number 17, and I think that does have connections with the UK. If we look at the lunar calendar, 17 would be the day after the 21st, so that may make sense. If something occurs, blood moony, tsunami, volcanic, around the 20th, 21st, and then we get, Russia, maybe nuclear drone, tsunami kind of scenario with the Poseidon, and that could cause effects on the 22nd, which would be the 17th lunar day. And then we go on to the 23rd, which is highlighted in Psalms 23 outside the classroom, but the number 18 is also hidden in various places, which myself and JK Bugger have pointed out in previous videos. So it may be that we're looking at this section of lunar calendar 15 to 18 and 20 to 23rd on the Gregorian calendar. Of course, there's the Julian calendar as well, which is 13 days behind. So it may be that next month, while we're in February, the events are occurring on the Julian calendar in association with January, but occurring in February in association with the Gregorian calendar. I hope that's not too confusing. Moving on very quickly, is this a scene I wanted? Yes, it is a scene I wanted. Now, on the same day, there may be an indication, so not just with the blood moon, possible earthquake generating volcanic eruption, tsunami event, Russian drones and submarines, but there may also be an indication for something happening with Donald Trump. And I do think that the volcanic eruption and Donald Trump are going to be associated with each other. It just makes it look more significant biblically, especially for these Christians that are following Donald Trump as if he's a savior. If natural, air quotes, natural events were to occur around the same time something happened to Donald Trump, they would definitely draw distinctions between the two and maybe try and connect them together, as in because Donald Trump got shot or whatever, the volcano erupted and the tsunami came and this is God's judgment. We'll see, or hopefully we don't see, but if these things are going to unfold, then we will see. But up in his hair, I pointed out before, 2 lines and what looks like the number 5. Now I've interpreted this as 11.5 or 25. It could be L15, which is something I pointed out before in association with George Bush's or Donald Trump's eyebrow, where we seem to have an upside down L, and definitely what looks like the number 5 here. Could be number 2, but I'm taking it as number 5. And then we've got this extra line here, and I said before that it looks like the Lunar 15, which is why I interpret it as January 20th. On the next video, I looked at it as a Lunar 5, just in case I was missing out on something. But considering the Lunar 5 has passed, and that was on January the 10th, we now have the Lunar 15 coming up. Obviously, there's a 15 today, so I'll be keeping an eye out, but I'm not expecting anything to occur. It's more significant if something were to occur on the day he was inaugurated, and there's a blood moon going on, and there's a volcanic eruption, and there's a tsunami, and there's submarines. It would all be more significant. And obviously, if Donald Trump is the only one, trying to build a relationship with Russia, or is the only one holding them back, then if he's gone, Russia may decide to advance with their submarines, which they may have already deployed into the Atlantic and the Pacific, most likely the Atlantic, seeing as it's an easier route to come through. Right, so having said all that, back to the Lunar 15. The Lunar 15 is obviously, as I mentioned, January the 20th, and see a lot of things are interpreted to occur on that day, January the 20th to the 21st, moving on to the 22nd and the 23rd. Now, this is just going to take a while to load, so give me a second. Australia, well, not Australia, but Australia is hosting it as part of the island of Guam. They're going to be having a 2019 exercise called Sea Dragon, and it's due to kick off January the 14th, which was yesterday. They don't say in this report how long it's going to be going on for, but considering it includes, multiple countries, you'd assume it would go on for a week or more, which would obviously put it into the time range of January the 20th, moving into the 21st. So if they've got all this naval activity going on already, and something occurs, then it's possible that, it's not an exercise, but an actual preparation for events that are to occur after the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd time period. In reference to the Sea Dragon exercise, it always seems to come back to China for me, because the Chinese zodiac sign of the dragon is also occurring during the year of the pig. So from February the 5th, the year of the dog ends, and it moves into February the 5th. Now what it says here about the Chinese zodiac, the dragon, during the year of the pig, is that the 2019 Chinese horoscope predicts happiness, joy, and prosperity for the dragon during the year of the pig. The 5th zodiacal sign of Chinese astrology is finally released from the chains that had prevented him during the Earth Dog year of 2018. So I'm just going to stop there, because from what I'm reading there, it appears that the dragon, in reference to the Great Serpent and all the other things we've got, was restrained during the Earth Dog year. So all the events we're looking to happen during 2018 weren't happening, in terms of that China especially, North Korea, the whole war situation going on over there. But at the end of the year of the dog, which comes to an end when February the 4th is finished and it's moving on to February the 5th, the year of the dog ends and the year of the pig begins, which releases the zodiac dragon from his chains. thinking about all that, just bear with me a second. I'll go back to the iPad go-to video, and I'm just going to play this section of video here so you can see what I'm talking about. The first thing is appears to be a reference to Yin and Yang, and this is a good and evil, a switching over of something. So it appears we're at a point in the year where things switch over, and that would usually be the New Year. So bear in mind, the New Year for the Chinese is occurring on February the 5th, or the night of February the 4th, the morning of February the 5th. So if this is telling us the year is switching, and we're moving into the new Chinese year, and we have a green for go, which is the dragon being released, we then have this scene that we've talked about multiple times with the 5 fireworks behind, and the reference to it apparently being a new year. Now, if you put all that together, the dragon being released when the year of the dog ends, which is when the year of the pig begins, on February the 5th, we've got the 5 fireworks in the background giving us an indication of New Year. We've got the party favor giving us an indication of New Year as well. And we're on the Chinese or Korean peninsula, where we seem to have a Yin Yang symbol on the ground, also looking like a Pac-Man, kind of giving us a reference to New Year and devouring, because that's what Pac-Man does, he devours things. So that gives me some indications, or it gives me an idea that if events start transpiring around the 20th, which would be the 29th day of the shutdown, if it continues until then, the blood moon eclipse, the possible volcanic eruptions and tsunamis, moving into the 23rd, where we have nuclear drones and stuff like that causing tsunamis as well. It's not that far to consider from here to there for things to devolve with North Korea. Obviously, as I said, if Donald Trump is out of the way, then things like the deal with North Korea, that may deteriorate, go back to how it was before, which would then obviously cause things to, spiral downwards very quickly on the Korean Peninsula. Maybe as quickly as from the 23rd to the 5th, where the dragon is finally released, the green on the tank for go, the new year, and then, that's when China becomes involved. And we start seeing even more things happening. India becoming involved at that point as well. So there's a lot of things to watch out for. But it all starts with this blood moon eclipse on the 20th, moving into the 21st of January. And we'll see, but hopefully not see, if those things transpire after that. You guys, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Oh, sorry. There is one more part of the video I just forgot to bring up. Iran advancing technology to produce nuclear fuel. They're about to go to production of 20% uranium. Obviously, the Iran nuclear deal was ended by Donald Trump, and since then the EU's been trying to save it. As far as I can tell, they haven't been very successful, and Iran is about ready to ditch the EU and continue with its nuclear ambitions. They're also about to send some satellites into space, which they've been warned by Mike Pompeo not to do. Which could cause, economic sanctions even more so on them. But more likely, you'll have a military option, which John Bolton and members of the Trump administration asked the Pentagon to draw up last year. So obviously, while we've been talking a lot about the potential for Iran being targeted by Israel or by the United States and then responding, we have real-world reports that suggest that may be true. So that's the end. You guys, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.